The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Welcome to part 2 of the Hoop Ball Sacramento Kings podcast 2018 NBA Draft coverage. You can follow me on Twitter at MyBuddyChris. For all of Hoop Ball's Sacramento Kings coverage on Twitter, it's at HoopBallKings. And for all of your NBA news, NBA fantasy news, and Sacramento Kings coverage, period, as well as your NBA draft coverage, it's hoop-ball.com, the new and improved hoop-ball.com. There is now a team-specific page for the Sacramento Kings. Go there to get all of these podcasts, as well as all of the great work from our Sacramento Kings Beat Bloggers. This is part 2 of the draft reaction. Previous podcast, we were a little despondent about the pick. And with this podcast, we give you the best case scenario for Marvin Bagley III on the Sacramento Kings. We delve into how much him wanting to be in Sacramento played a part in the Kings making him the second pick. And then we kind of lost our minds at the end of the podcast and discussed who the Kings should take with their 36th pick and the fact that they should not be selling the pick. They should be making a selection because they can't be passing up chances at players, young players, promising players in an NBA draft. Enjoy this episode of the Hoop Ball Sacramento Kings podcast. Part 2 of our draft coverage starts now with your host, Christian Villere, and Sacramento Kings Beat Blogger for Hoop Ball, Mr. Jon Schifferle. How are you, sir?
I'm still doing good. I think better now.
You've managed to recover?
Better. I don't know. I mean, is this the first time you've ever been surprised in a way that doesn't feel great at the time by the Kings?
Are you asking, did I feel better when the Kings selected Bismack Biyombo in 2011? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, did you feel better about that?
Oh boy, did I felt a confusion on a level exceeding the height of the tallest skyscraper in the entire world. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, wherever you want to take that.
Yeah, well, anyhow, we are now roughly 2.5 hours out from, no, not 2.5 hours. Two and a half hours out from the Kings having selected Marvin Bagley III with the second pick in the 2018 NBA draft. Suffice it to say, neither John or I wanted the Kings to select him. However, we're going to try and make the best of it here with part 2 of our draft coverage. With that, John, why don't you go ahead and make the case for Marvin Bagley III as the Sacramento Kings pick?
I think the basic case for him is always going to come down to the idea that with his type of fluidity and his lateral quickness and speed, he could be extremely good defensively if he develops a face-up game offensively and he sort of brings his shooting along more. You know, he shot like 39% at Duke last year, and a lot of people say maybe that was a little high. They didn't shoot that many threes. Even if it is high, even if you don't feel like it's high, honestly, he doesn't know how to shoot up the dribble yet. And that's something he's going to have to learn. So things like that, things like dribbling, passing, which the Kings are going to say that he's a good passer, but he certainly isn't yet unless he learned something between his last game at Duke and today. But there's a lot of development there and there's a lot of tools there. So he could be really special, but he does have a lot to learn.
I think the main upside is, I was thinking about this on the car ride back to my abode.
Sure.
The best case scenario is him being Chris Webber to De'Aaron Fox's Mike Bibby. Like, thinking about it and using a mental model that Sacramento Kings fans can understand, that I can understand, just trying to get a grasp on what the thinking of the front office might have been. they're looking at it. We've got this blue chip prospect in the backcourt. We want to pair him with a blue chip prospect in the front court. As we stated in the previous pod, looking at the stash of front court depth, there's nothing there, and it needs to be replenished. So you take the best front court prospect you see in the draft beyond DeAndre Ayton. I think if DeAndre Ayton is there, I would hope the Kings would have taken him. However, if the tweets from Carmichael Dave are to be believed, Bagley was number 1 on the Kings draft board. He would have been taken with the first pick had the Kings had it. I still think there's, as we saw in the finals, as you saw in the Western Conference Finals, there's still a place and room in the game for the mid-range jumper. It's got to be a high-quality shot, not the ones that Zach Randolph takes. That can be an area of the court that Bagley dominates. There's still some room for those players. I'm just still so utterly shocked that they didn't go with Luka, because we all thought Luka was the best guy. Let me make one more point though about Marvin being the Marvin Bagley. But by the way, not enough Marvins in the NBA. I like to say that guys have been drafted 137 times in the NBA draft. Doesn't matter what name he was or he is, has. He's been drafted a million times before. I don't know how many Marvins have been drafted in the NBA. I like the name Marvin.
Marvin Williams comes to mind immediately.
There's one other Marvin that we know of. There's Marvin.
No, we know of immediately. Yeah, I'm sure there's like 10 of them.
There's 137 other Marvins. I mean, let's be real. But I'm just kidding. He looks like he's got a touch. It looks like he's got a feel on the inside. And if there's something that the Kings lack this season, it was interior presence. And if he can actually finally provide that, maybe he stands a chance of being a player that we all look at and marvel and be excited about taking and having on the Sacramento Kings.
So here's a note I want to make, and I just want to see, I don't know, should we read into this? Am I making something out of nothing? The Kings, did they at some point last year say that they would have taken De'Aaron Fox first?
I don't recall off the top of my head that being the case.
I thought they said something about him being their favorite player or something like that. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm making that up, but if they did say that, then that kind of would indicate a little bit to me that maybe this is a habit of theirs. You know what I mean? Not a whole lot to read into that. And honestly, I guess no matter what I think, it's not wild to think he was number 1. Like, they had the second pick. They picked him second. At most, they could have one player ahead of him unless they just randomly picked a player they didn't like much. But here's my sort of interesting comp for you that is just worth bringing up because I don't know. I think it's best at this point. Let's just be excited. Like, is anyone going to stop being a Kings fan because of this pick? I really don't think so. If you really were like a fair weather fan and this bothers you that much, I don't think you would still be a Kings fan at this point, right? It's been 13 years. There's not many people joining right now that are going to leave just because they're disappointed. So, Marvin Bagley last year, 1.5 assists per game at Duke. Wouldn't lead you to believe he's got a whole lot there. The Kings, again, based on the tweets from Carmichael Dave, do feel like he has something as a passer. But you look at Blake Griffin, very similar athlete, sort of similar in terms of skills. Shot, from what I'm seeing here, 0% from 3 his freshman year at Oklahoma. Shot 58% from the free throw line and had 1.8 assists per game. And you look now, So in his NBA career, he's at this point averaging 4.3 assists per game for his entire career, 6.2 with the Pistons last year, shooting 78% from the line, 34% from the 3-point line. Like, starting off from a worse base as a shooter than Marvin Bagley did, and probably starting off from a similar base as Marvin Bagley did as a passer. And both are just exceptional athletes. So it's worth remembering that I'm not saying he's going to develop like Blake Griffin did, but these players do get better skill-wise year over year in a lot of cases. And so a lot of people don't like betting on athleticism, but sometimes it really works out because these players do develop those skills that you want them to.
Blake Griffin's an interesting comp. I mean, just in the grand scheme of all that we had looked at draft-wise, he was not a player I thought Bagley could develop into. He's got a chance. Also, they're cornering the market on left-handed players. I'm all for that because I'm partially left-handed.
Yeah, left-handed, that's good. That works. I believe in that.
You got a left-handed point guard. You now got a left-handed interior player who's going to be anchoring something. I don't know what he's going to be anchoring, but whatever the offense looks like. Are we now looking? I mean, now with taking Bagley as opposed to Doncic, does it mean that we're going to be looking at a ground-based horns offense, post-ups, plotting offense? I mean, that's what it seems like to me. You make the pick, you get De'Aaron Fox, one of the fastest people on the planet, and you're going to slow him down and watch him run horns and post-ups all game. If they come out and do that, we're going to be having the same sort of fan firing squad in the first part of the season that we had today with the draft.
I mean, could they be? Yeah. And another thing I want to point out here, just for the Blake Griffin Bagley comp. Blake Griffin's wingspan, if you look on Google right now, is 6'11". I don't remember exactly what it was the day of the draft, but it's not like it was great. It was potentially below 7 feet. And that's sort of been another issue that people have had with Bagley, is shorter arms, around 6'10", 6'11". The comps for Blake Griffin do work in a lot of ways. And it really works in the sense that Blake, as I said before, developed a lot after that first year at Oklahoma. If Bagley can do the same, you might be looking at a great player. And if Griffin doesn't get hurt throughout his year, what does he look like now?
Let's move to. Oh, sorry, you want to add something else?
Oh, I was going to say on your point about. The horn sets. Yeah. So Bagley is an interesting player where if you can help him shoot or at least attack closeouts and operate a little bit on the perimeter, you can go with more of like a 5-out or a 4-out offense with Harry Giles. It really depends on who you play, but he can operate as that floor spacer. You can also have him operate more in like a high-low sort of offense with Harry Giles. It's really about what they want to do. And I mean, Bogut on the Warriors, maybe, what was that, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he was really good with the Warriors. They ran a little bit of offense through him and sort of operated around the perimeter and still found efficient shots. You have to do it right, but you can sort of operate out of the post and still find those looks. It's not as if we have to go to this slow mid-range offense just because we're running plays out of Giles. And even if you do want to have Marvin Bagley play, a little bit down low, a little bit on the perimeter, you can make that work for sure.
Well, mainly what I'm saying is come down and run a slow offense.
But the Warriors got up and down. That's my point.
Yeah. However, we just watched a year where they brought in 4 rookies. We expected it to be run and gun, but instead we watched the slowest offense in the NBA, or near slowest offense in the NBA, plot along for the entire season. If we watch another season of that, Nobody. I don't think anybody's going to be happy. And
yeah, to me, it's a question of why. And you look at, I mean, they kept saying we want to run, right? And I guess clearly didn't feel comfortable trying to play that type of offense. And if the reason is that they're just never going to feel comfortable playing that type of offense, then that's a problem. I could see it being a case where they kind of want to simplify it for, Fox and Bogdanovich and Hield, who are all younger, run the offense through guys that you feel like first are going to need to, like Willie Cauley-Stein, because that's just the type of offense Jaeger runs a little bit. But second, it's Zach Randolph and Kosta Koufos, who are, well into their careers and really understand how to play that way. And they're fine in, a changing system. So it's a question of, did you do it because they're rookies, or did you do it because that's what you're going to do? And I don't know if we have the answer to that yet.
Let's move to another aspect of this, which is the Kings selected Marvin Bagley III because he wanted to be in Sacramento. How much do you think that factored into the Kings making him the second pick?
We talked about this a little bit before, and I hope not a lot. My theory here is it felt like Bagley wanted to go as high as possible. And so if the Hawks had been 2 and the Kings had been 3, I think Bagley wants to go to the Hawks. I don't think this is a situation where Sacramento was actually like a preferred destination for him. I felt a little bit more like last year Fox was probably more interested in Sacramento than Bagley this year. That was just the feeling I got based on, what he was saying and the reports that were coming out. But I think he's at the very least not looking to get out, and he was willing to cooperate throughout the process. And honestly, Fox and Harry Giles kind of just seem like 2 guys that are genuinely fun to be around. And so if he went out to dinner with them, he already knows Giles a little bit from the Duke connection. I'm sure he played a little bit with, Fox growing up. So there's every chance that he just views it as, I want to go as high as I can. And I honestly like these 2 guys that are clearly building blocks for this team. So I'm ready to go. I just don't think it's like he had this. It felt like Fox had this thing where he liked the fans and he actually wanted to be here specifically. Whereas Bagley's like, I like the players they have. I like going high in the draft. And so let's just go. You know what I mean?
I think it had a lot to do with picking who they picked. The last 2 years have only picked players who worked out for them. Did other high picks work out for the Kings this year? Like, did Bamba come in? I don't know. It didn't register. Maybe, you know what? I think he did. I think he did come in. I think they got some other guys to come in. But
well, here's what I'll say. To this point, it sounds like he didn't. Same with Jaren Jackson. But I'll also say that if Vivek's son never puts that picture on Instagram, do we know today that Luka Doncic met with the Kings? I doubt we do. I doubt that comes out if it's not put up on Instagram, because it really hasn't been even corroborated. It's obvious it happened because of the photo, but it hasn't. It's not like reports have come out about it.
The pool of players they're selecting from the last 2 years has indicated to me they're highly focused on A, guys who will come in for a workout, and B, guys who will say either privately or publicly they're cool with being in Sacramento and genuinely seem like they want to come to Sacramento. I'm not sure what the hang-up is on coming to Sacramento. I would say it's probably one of the top 10 best markets in the NBA to go to. I am highly biased in that opinion. However, you name off the top 5, New York, LA, I'm saying in terms of market size, New York, LA, Chicago, Philly, Dallas. Those are all desirable markets. Then you go into Oh, Phoenix might be up there as well. And then I'm looking for Houston's up there as well. And then, beyond the top 7 or 8 desirable markets, you get into a warm weather market in California. I don't know. To me, it seems more appealing than other folks might think it is. And the track record of Sacramento throughout history has been when guys get here, spend a little time here, they like it here and they typically stay, or when they leave, they're very fond of their time in Sacramento, or that when they stay, they really stay, as in they make homes here. So it seems to me the concern that a guy doesn't want to come to Sacramento and that's going to somehow affect the way he plays, affect the team in some way, that to me it screams a lack of confidence and bravado in your market, which I don't like to be projecting. And then on the other hand, you say, well, you want guys who want to be on your team.
Well, the problem is less that you're concerned they don't want to be here. It's more that you don't get any information on them because they're not going to provide it. You're not going to get their medicals, you're not going to get to meet them. So, do you really want to take that guy without knowing all that? With Doncic, I just don't really believe that much that he didn't really want to go to the Kings. I mean, why would he meet with them in Madrid? If he honestly wasn't interested in going to the Kings, then he was clearly still at least open to the idea. If he willingly had dinner with them, I just don't think that really played a huge factor. I don't know.
And now we come to the next part of the draft, the second round. Let's see. We're still recording. It's 7 o'clock, a little after 7, Thursday night. Looking at the draft now, 25th pick was just made by the Los Angeles Lakers. They picked, it looks like the
Mo Wagner.
Yeah, the guy, the shooter from Michigan, the stretch 5 from Michigan. Interesting pick, like a Frank the Tank pick. Well, good for them. Good for the Lakers.
Yeah.
We're sitting here, we're staring at the 36th pick for the Sacramento Kings. It's been heavily reported that they may try to sell the pick because they don't have much roster space at the moment. I'm of the opinion you get only so many shots in the draft. It's one of the primary. It's the primary way to add talent, high quality talent to your team. And in the case of a second round pick in the 30s, you can add that talent at a very affordable price. It is not an opportunity to be passed up. Serious teams in this league do not sell second round picks in this range. Please make a pick in the second round. Please take another talent, a first round talent who slides for whatever reason to the 36th pick. Kings pick him up, get a good find, add another piece. It's not hard. There's been a lot of talk that they may try to sell the pick, possibly because they could use the $3.5 million to drop from the rafters because of all the angry fans who were upset they didn't take Luka Doncic. The pick needs to be made. Let's leave it at that.
You can't sell a top 40 pick.
No,
ever.
you just
because if you're in the top, if it's a first round pick, just you can't sell that.
No,
it's 30 to 40, you're not good enough to sell picks. That's just the way it works.
Oh man,
ask the Bulls if you should sell this pick.
And we've mentioned over and over again how many holes there are in this team. Despite the fact that the Kings have so many front court players, we're adding yet another one because there's a lack of depth there. Yes, we could sit here and say, oh, well, guard is a strong position. I guess, maybe. Beyond Fox and Bogdanovich, you got Buddy. Buddy Buddy's numbers look great. Will Buddy come strong in his third year and be the kind of player that we all hope and expect? Well, really hope. Yeah, maybe the expectations have kind of been raised for him because the numbers do look good. So I'll say we kind of expect him to be better. We expect him to make a leap. It's only three guys. It's three guys. And you're still weak at the other wing position. There's got to be a handful of players, even now at this point in the draft, that could come in and be difference makers for the Sacramento Kings on a cheap contract and become a very affordable player, a very attractive player, somebody that you need. And when you're at this place in the NBA, you need every little tiny advantage that you can get. And drafting well at this point in the draft is something you have to do. Am I right? Am I wrong? Talk to me.
More importantly for me than any of that is I'm going to try and be positive about Bagley at this point because he's a King. And to be honest, I was going to say this before we got off last time, but Bagley wouldn't have gotten to the Kings if they hadn't moved up. And if he had gotten to the Kings, I would have said, you need to take him because he's just too good to fall that far. So, before draft night or before the lottery happened and the Kings moved up, I thought the Kings had a chance to still turn this around. Even if they didn't move up, I still think they do because they got a player better than who they would have gotten had they not moved up. So I'm just going to keep going with that. I think he's talented. I think he's a good pick. I prefer Doncic, but there's a lot to like. With selling the second round pick, literally the only person that helps is Vivek and the owners. They don't have to pay a player. They get the money that they sell the pick for. There's no basketball reason why you would sell that pick if you're the Kings. It's money. And if you want to get mad at Vivek for making the pick, I don't know that I blame him. If his front office felt like that was the right pick, that's what you hire them for. I think it's the wrong pick, but it is what it is. If you sell the second round pick, that's a bad basketball move by the Kings. There's no excuse for doing that. There's going to be a player that makes it in the NBA that's picked after 37 this year. The Kings need to make that pick.
They just need to take the chance. I mean, they might
grab a name out of a hat.
Well, yeah, they might get it wrong.
Yeah.
The odds are bad. The odds are bad for every team picking in the second round. And
then sometimes it's Nikola Jokic or Isaiah Thomas.
And then you're elated, beyond elated.
You just can't know.
You can't.
Just take some.
I really want to know what the reaction was out at the Golden One Center.
There's a video.
And
I don't know what it was, but I know there is a video. I saw it on Twitter.
It was probably not in favor of what happened, would be my guess.
Yeah.
So we're essentially looking at the same backcourt as we had last year. Add Bagley, and the Kings are bad again. I don't, barring a jump that we talked about from the prior podcast from a player on the team, Kings are going to be bad again next year, and staring in the face of not having a first-round draft pick. So then we're going to be staring in the face of yet again hoping that one of these guys does. Just ignore that. Does make a leap then.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here all again. We're sitting here yet again for the 2020 draft when I'm an old man, hoping that one day before I die, we'll see a competitive Sacramento Kings basketball team. Yes, I just took it there. I took it to 2 years in the future when all of us are still losing our minds on Twitter at the fact that we're stuck in the same place that we were back in 2009 with the Kings.
I will say, I think Fox takes a pretty nice jump next year because he has a lot of room to grow. I think he takes a nice jump. Bogdan Bogdanović, just by being not overworked, will take a jump next year. Even if he doesn't get an ounce better, he will be more productive because he won't just be unbelievably tired. And then Buddy Hield took some steps forward at the end of the season. There's some reason to believe in that. I think Bagley, in the right situation, can provide some really nice value for a team. Not in like a Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum way, but in a maybe, I guess, more of an OG Anunoby way. Not saying he'll be like really an effective defender, but he'll have a role and he'll be able to play it well. And maybe Scal takes a step forward. Maybe Harry Giles is the real deal. Maybe Justin Jackson, takes a nice step forward. There's reason to believe the Kings could be competitive and interesting next year with Bagley. I think there's also reason to believe they're not a whole lot better than they were this year, but there is some optimism there, I think.
This is true. There's always optimism. Optimism is always in the air with the Sacramento Kings.
And Robert Williams is still on. Oh, okay. Robert Williams is going to the Celtics. Never mind.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, sorry. No, he might not go. Woj just says they're tantalized by him. We don't know that means he's going there.
Woj. Yes. Well, we sit here. We've broken it down for you 11 different ways from Sunday. Kings have a new power forward, a new member of the front court. Still waiting on the 36th pick in that draft. It's been a banner day. This was not a turn I was expecting at all. Because there was no hype around Marvin Bagley Jr. to the Kings until 7 hours ago, 6 hours ago, something like that. I went into the day fully expecting the Serbian Mafia to make the pick of Luka Doncic, yet it flies in my face, and we're staring at another Duke Blue Devil who came in to work out for the team being picked by the Sacramento Kings. Nobody had it until today. That's what I'm most flabbergasted by.
Well, Draft Express had it a week ago. We just all pretended they didn't know what they were talking about. But no. I don't know that the pick was made until today. No. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I have 2 questions for you. Are you ready for them?
I am ready.
Oh, okay. All right. So, how about this? Number 1, based on who you can see is still available, and it's been reported that Robert Williams is taken. This is the 27th pick for anyone who listens to this late, which is everyone. Who are you looking at? Who is your top 2, I would say?
For the Kings to take with the 36th pick in the draft?
Yeah, we're close enough. And I'll say this, the guy that I told you, that the Anthony Melton, we were talking about him, I think, off air, is still available.
Melton is still there. Is Holiday still there?
No, he's gone.
He's gone. Remind me of some of the names, because I'm lost on the names now. Oh, I'm looking
Kyrie
at
Thomas, Frazier, Bruce Brown.
Here we go. I got the best. Jay Billis' best available is coming up.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm looking. Elie Okobo from France. I don't like any of these names, partly because I don't know any of these names. Hey, another Duke Blue Devil. Why not? Why not? Gary Trent Jr. I liked Gary Trent as a player. That was a fun dude. Just a trailer park of a man coming at you full force.
So is that your guy?
Let's do it. Let's do Gary Trent Jr. or DeAnthony. What was it? What's his Melton's name?
DeAnthony Melton. That is absolutely your homework after we get off. Even if the Kings don't pick him, you gotta go catch up on Melton.
Excellent.
He's fun.
Let's call it there. It's been a long day. 2 pods. Putting in the work. Jon Schifferle. Find him on Twitter at Jon Schifferle. Find me on Twitter at MyBuddyChris. For all of Hoopball's Sacramento Kings coverage on Twitter, it's at HoopballKings. And for all of your NBA news, NBA fantasy news, and Sacramento Kings coverage, period, it's hoop-ball.com, the new and improved hoop-ball.com. There is now a team-specific page for the Sacramento Kings. Go there to get all of these podcasts, as well as all of the great work from our Sacramento Kings beat bloggers, such as yours truly, Jon Schifferle. For John, I'm Chris Villere. See you next time.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.